Welcome to the Early Night Show with Anway Pramanik.
Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Anway Pramanik's Early Night Show with, I hope, the only person on this planet called Anway Pramanik. It's the only really unique thing about me, my name. And my superpowers, of course, which I can't tell you guys about. I hope you've got a cup of something nice today, because this is going to be one of those long format podcasts. This is going to be a good, fun one. I'm going to talk about a bunch of different chapters of my life threaded around one topic, and how I've come to realize something very profound about the way the matrix works. So if you want to know whether this podcast is for you, whether you should stay, I'll sum it up in one sentence. This is a podcast of how a video game reminded me or made me rethink of my religious views, or made me reminisce on my religious views and think about that a few ideas that I had constructed for myself once with regards to how control mechanisms work, and how religion is just one control mechanism out of the million that have existed to guide humanity during its different stages in different civilizations. Now, if that sounds like something you wanna, and it's gonna have a lot of biblical, Christian, black metal, satanic, and pagan undertones, this entire podcast. So if this sounds like something that you want to be part of, because I'm going to go super fucking in depth today, then you should stay. If not, then you should probably check out the previous podcast, because it's a much more lightheaded, non-direction, chilled out, laid back version of format of podcast that I do. Anyways, jumping in, take a sip of something really nice, guys. I'm telling you, you need it. You can even light up a J. I think this is a perfect episode for smoking a J in the darkness with my podcast on. So let's jump right in. Now, in the last podcast, I stopped off with talking about how I'm playing this video game called Blasphemous right now, and how it's completely based on heavy Catholic Christian, Old Testament Christianity. It's so we all know that there's two sides of Christianity, right? One is the Old Testament, where God is this vengeful, punishing father who will punish you if you like there are these parents who punish you if you stay up late and beat you up and do shit like that. That's one side of the Bible, the Old Testament. And the New Testament, whereas like the son of that punishing father, when he leaves the house, starts smoking a J and realizes, oh my God, my upbringing has been shit, and he spreads a much more peaceful message. That's the New Testament. That's how I see it anyways, father and son. So this is going to be focused on the Old Testament part of it, which the Old Testament ruled humanity for a long fucking time. I mean, the thoughts and values of Old Testament, even after the New Testament was formed, Catholicism really derived a lot of pleasure or a lot of its systemic control from pushing the idea of guilt, punishment, shame, penance. We're all born of sin. We've all got to do penance to escape our sin. If you die, like you've seen a lot of TV shows, right, where especially if you've watched Vikings, you'd have noticed, right? If any Christian dies without a proper burial, then they say that he's not going to heaven, but he's going to purgatory, right? It's because his sins have not been some shit, right? Or if a baby that's not baptized dies, then it goes to purgatory because its sins have not been forgiven, or something like that. It's very weird, right? So I've always been very influenced by this dark side of Christianity. It's very fucking dark. It's very intense. If you've read Berserk, you've seen a side of it. If you've heard about the Spanish Inquisition or read about it, you've seen a side of it. If you've if watched any Monty Python movie, you've seen that side of it. So I've been playing this game called Blasphemous. It's a 2019 release, 2017 or 2019 release game. Fucking amazing. The game popped up in my feed because the DLC just came out and I started playing it. And the entire game is based on a lot of this Jesuit Christian. It's based on that entire Catholic Christian, that Game of Thrones, that shame, the sparrows. It's completely based on that kind of a background, but even more dark, even more malicious, even more supernatural, right? So the entire concept of a game is you play as this penitent one who's taking a penance right now of silence, and you're going around trying to figure out the story of this great land. Playing this game really took me back to those days, In fact, to get myself in the zone, just before this podcast, I was listening to Freezing Boon by Mayhem, one of the most satanically black metal influenced songs. It's not a very devil worship song as much as it is a black metal song, but it definitely takes you to that zone. So yeah, that Blasphemous really got me to start thinking about I love anything that to do with Christianity, gods, angels, demons, Bible, testaments, Jesus, reincarnation, anything to do with these things, and I have a soft spot for it. Even though I'm a Hindu by birth, my entire schooling has been Christian, in a Christian convent, Ryan International School. Every morning we have prayer, we have the Bible reading, we have the Lord's Prayer, that's the Our Father, we have bunch of different sing songs that are like Jehovah Jireh, Blind Man, all Christian songs. So I have been heavily influenced by it, and it's not just my school, but even one of my really close friends, Nikhil, if you're listening to this, Nikhil John, he was from a hardcore Christian background, right? Very, very very modern of family, very, very modern with their thoughts, but very hardcore Christian. Like I still remember Joey Jordison for the All Hope Is Gone Slipknot album. He had that Jesus Christ crown of thorns as part of his get-up. So he'd taken a printout of that, and his sister had literally crumpled that and thrown it. Again, not making fun of anyone, but I'm not very tolerant of people who are very extremist with their religious views and impose it upon others. So, again, coming out of that topic, he was also a big influence because he was in my apartment. We used to spend a lot of time together. So he was a big influence with regards to that, and with regards to the Christian influences, because it's with him and another friend of mine, Bennett Agas Jude, who was more of a Christian with regards to his family background, but he never imposed Christianity on me as much as Nikhil did. Again, guys, I love both of y'all. This is the truth. So I'm speaking this shit. If you're listening, I know Benny's listening to this for sure. Nikhil, I don't think Nikhil listens to my podcast. He was always a little too cool for me. But at the same time, it's because I got to interact or got influenced to these two things because of these two people, right? That my life got so much amazing context today. So I'm so grateful that I got to spend my 8th, 9th, 10th with these guys. 3 years of really strong influence, and my school as well. And I still remember there was a time in my 9th grade where I was so strongly influenced, I wanted to convert to Christianity. Like I used to wear a rosary and stuff. Then I'm like, somehow I didn't convert. I don't know why I didn't convert. Maybe it was a very cool thing for me to wear a rosary. That's why. But I didn't convert to Christianity. Instead, I converted to the Antichrist side of it. I became a hardcore, I was big time into metal back then, and very deeply influenced by satanic themes and cultures. Iron Maiden, the songs of Iron Maiden used to be something I used to fucking lose my shit over. And in fact, Nikhil had given me a book called He Came to Set the Captives Free. Very sexual book about this lady who joined a satanic cult and they had crazy orgies, and then she comes back to Christian life. So it really got me stimulated. And if you know the Iron Maiden Dance of Death song, it's like a fucking pagan orgy in the song. And that was the first Iron Maiden song I'd heard in my life, and maybe the first, possibly the first metal, classic rock song as well. So big fucking influence. Right. Apart from that, I've always, influenced by the satanic side of it. And I've always felt a strong influence of that darkness in my life. I've always had it. Even before this, I was kind of reveling listening to that Mayhem song. I mean, I'm a great soul at heart, but I have also a brilliantly dark side of me. Like when there is a strong light, there is a bigger shadow, right? So that's what I believe in. So I remember it was a exposure to really dark thoughts, exposure to biblical mythos, right? I got exposed to a lot of the Bible stories. Like if you're someone who's a writer or a reader, and if you've heard of Paradise Lost, I got influenced to that at 9th grade, right? The concept of the devil's son. There's a grasshopper in my room right now. Anyways, the devil's son and the devil's wife, the devil's daughter, and how the devil's son rapes his own mom. Concepts like that. It really screwed with my head. But in a good way, good and bad way. Like I got exposed to that biblical mythos and creation theory, creation of man, where we come from. So those thoughts started coming then. And I'm really grateful to my exposure to Christianity, because I'm 100% sure if I'd been very strictly Hindu, then I would have only explored God from a very religious, from a worship point of view, because most of Hindu experience, in Hindu culture, the experiences with gods are mainly through worship, through rituals, not worship, through rituals. Whereas I wanted to experience it outside of that. Anyways, that's another story. So, those black metal, I started watching all kinds of satanic movies, dark movies, exorcist movies, exposure to anything to do with with Satan and the devil and darkness and evil constructs. I was into at that point of time. Not to say that I was bad or I was suicidal or carried a knife, but I was really exploring those thoughts and that side of me. And I believe that's how the entirety of my 9th and 10th grade went. 10th grade went. 11th and 12th, it got a little bit more subtle. Like, it became a little bit more... I don't really recall, what my religious influences were in 11th and 12th. I think I became more engrossed in politics, because, that we had that whole school election, and I became more engrossed in community leading and stuff like that. So religion kind of stepped back from my life. It really took a big step back. So I didn't really identify with anything. I didn't follow anything. Yes, of course. I was still what you would like to call, and that is when, now I remember, that is when I think I started developing these ideas of atheism. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. God does not exist. If God exists, why does he exist? All these things, not so deeply. I had these thoughts. So school kind of set the first stone of everything religious that was to happen in my life going forward. I think school kind of set the tone for that. And I'm really grateful, really glad, because if it hadn't, then I think today I wouldn't, again, like I said, just like Nikhil and Bennett, I think without them, my life would have not had the kind of amazing depth that it has today. I mean, I enjoy metal so much, or let me say I enjoy certain concepts so much because I see it, from a biblical Western mythos point of view. And as much as you and I might not agree, today's world is driven by Western propaganda, and Western propaganda is based on biblical mythos. So a lot of our today's world is based on that. I mean, AD and BC. I mean, BC is before Christ, AD is Anno Domini, or whatever we have right now. It's changed now. I think it's changed, right? So that's based on Christ. Christmas, based on Christ. Lots of things. I mean, a lot of our world. I mean, one of the world's biggest religious heads is the fucking Pope. There is a country out there that belongs just to God and his men called the Vatican. So the entire world is very strongly influenced by God and his angels and their stories. And I don't blame them. I mean, there are two kinds of religions that exist, right? I mean, I cannot find the word for it, but I remember, or maybe I should get to the next part of this topic before I get to it. So next was, after school was college. I mean, school was, you could say, the beginning of my journey into spirituality started with this, right? Because I really started questioning God and all. It was amazing, right? Like, now that I look back to it. Now, college was fucking fantastic. First year of college, I was not dumb. I was one of those like party boys, college fuck boys kind of thing. It was very weird. But in my second year, I met two people, Aditya and four people. Four of us used to hang out, the four horsemen. Myself, Aditya, Adnan and Hisham. Hisham is a Muslim, Aditya is Hindu, I'm a Hindu, Adnan was a Muslim. I come from that Christian background, Adi comes from Christian background, Bishop Cottons. Adnan comes from a strong Muslim background, so does Hisham. And again, Adi's parents are very, 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 they're Brahmins, hardcore Brahmins. So he's got that Hindu influence. So three of us really used to have, so here's what our routine used to be in school, my college mate. So I had 4 lectures in a day, 45 minutes each. So within 45 minutes, 1.5 hours, 3 hours, my college used to be done. And I used to have 45 minutes break in between. So 4 hours used to be my college every day. Second year. So that's when I dropped out, right? That's when I started dropping out. Started my process of dropping out. So I still remember during my entire third semester, third semester was afternoon classes, okay? So 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock or something like 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, yeah. Something like 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, yeah. So 10 to 1 we would have, 10 to 11:30 we would have a class, 11:30 to 12:15 we would have something like that, okay? So we would have classes like that, 3 classes, a break and a class. Or it would be, the next semester would be 1 class, a break and 3 classes. And most of the times the last class the lecturer never came, so we used to just be chilling. Now I remember my routine used to be, 4th semester is when this started, okay? I still remember very strongly. 3rd semester, not so much. 3rd semester, I started smoking up like crazy. Like, I started fucking smoking weed and getting psychedelic trips and stuff like that. Started in 3rd grade. So it was crazy, okay? Not psychedelic, but weed-based drug trips. So I still remember now, 5th sem, my routine was go to college early in the morning, 7 o'clock, reach there, have breakfast at the post office canteen next door, go attend a lecture, come down as soon as, in the lecture, my boys would roll a joint, come down, smoke the joint during the break, talk about shit, come back to class, have 3 hours of lectures. One of those lectures was always film studies, and in film studies, we used to watch a movie. It was amazing. And we used to watch a movie, and at the end of the day, me, Adnan, Aditya and Hisham. So Hisham had a vehicle and Adnan had a vehicle. So Adi would travel with Hisham, I would travel with Adnan. Or we would swap. We would go to Chanakya, grab a coffee and talk about religion. Now, Aditya was big time Aditya and Adnan were big into, Aditya more was big time into Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and what is the 4th guy? The 4 horsemen of modern day atheism. Let me type, okay? Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, Dennett, right? Daniel Dennett. These are the 4 people. The 4 horsemen. Yes, the 4 horsemen. I've got to watch this. It's a brilliant documentary of new atheism. If you guys ever want to watch it, please watch it. It's called The 4 Horsemen. Look it up. It's really going to mindfuck you if you're not had religious thoughts. Anyway, so we used to have that, and thanks to Aditya and Adnan. I mean, dude, you have no idea how much I owe you guys if you're listening. Aditya listens to my podcast once in a while. Adi, if you're listening to this, you have no idea, dude, how much I fucking owe you for putting me down that thought, because Christopher Hitchens was my breakaway to spirituality. I mean, Christopher Hitchens was my gateway to psychedelic awakening, if I have to put it like that. I mean, Christopher Hitchens saying no to shit, realize that I can say no to fucking beliefs and put my own theories forward as long as I can back them. So I still remember, like, Christopher Hitchens, Dawkins, Alan Watts, to an extent, I got introduced to because of these guys, which then led me to go down and figure out these different people like Zachariah Sitchin, Sasha Daygame, Neil Strauss, James Clear, Mark Manson, Krishna to a big extent. I love Krishna's teachings, Osho to an extent. All of these started because of Hitchens and Dawkins. Now, Dawkins, his documentary is known as... Wow, I should have done more research. His book and documentary is known as... What is it known as? The God Delusion. That's what it was known as. So if the entire thing about God Delusion is he goes around the world to the most religious people in this planet and he questions their religion. He's like, if your God was good, why would he do this? If your God was so insightful, then why would he do this? If your religion founded religion, then why was there a religion before that? Why are all your religious rituals inspired by pagan stuff? Dude, you have to watch that if you ever get a chance to. It's brilliant. Richard Dawkins, boss man himself, and Christopher Hitchens. I mean, dude, Christopher Hitchens is he wouldn't have been alive in today's politically correct culture. They would have destroyed him. But when he was alive, I think he's destroyed Mother Teresa, he's destroyed Christianity, he's destroyed the Pope, he's destroyed African religious conversions. You know, like in Africa, did you know that Christian popes, any Christian missionary in Africa that is warranted by the Vatican Church or the Catholic Church, they will go there, they will spread condoms, and then what they do is they circumcise women. And how they do is they stitch up the clit. You can read about this. Richard Dawkins talks about this, and Christopher Hitchens talks. Christopher Hitchens hated religious propaganda. So he hated it. Richard Dawkins is more of, he's a scientist. He analyzes it. Richard Dawkins was a fucking journalist. He used to shred people to pieces, right? So if you ever get a chance, please watch Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion, and just go and check out Christopher Hitchens. Just go and type the Hitch slap. The bitch slap is when you go and fucking whack someone on the face with the backside of your hand. The Hitch slap is when he would give a backslap answer to the biggest religious people on this planet. Like, just watch. Like, I'm going to type it right now. Let's just type Hitchens Hitch slap. So Hitchens also kind of became a little pavam towards the end of his life because he got esophageal cancer and he died because of that. A lot of people said it's God punishing him, but he's like, fuck you, dude. It's God afraid of me. That's why he's taking me away or whatever. I mean, he didn't believe in God. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have said that, but anti-theism. That's what they are. These are dudes. So there's two things, right? There is your atheism, where I don't know if I should believe in your religion. And one, there's anti-theism. Anti-theism is literally, they say humanity precedes religion. You do not need the word of God to believe or follow God. That's what anti-theism is about. It's against religious doctrine. Now, this comes down to that thing that I was saying. There's two kinds of religion, right? One is you have the conversion-based religion, and one is you have the religion that asks you to convert, and one is the religion that asks you to just participate. Like, right? So your Islam and Christianity are hardcore conversion-based religions. I'm not able to find the right words. I will find it and I will talk about it, correct myself in the future. But conversion religions and worship or just join religion. I forgot what it's called, okay? So your Christianity and Islam, the whole purpose of that religion to exist is to convert the other person and tell them, my God is real, yours isn't. You have to believe in my God or you will not go to my heaven. And you need to go to my heaven if you want the best afterlife. And usually because Christianity became the dominant religion of Europe, because Emperor Constantine is like, hey, Europe's too divided right now. I want all of Europe united so that I can rule it easier. What do? Let me call up the Council of Nicaea, get all the wise men together, get all the Christian books that have ever been written by Jesus and his followers together, and let me create the Bible. Let me only choose and handpick the books that I want to be putting in this. And those books written by those followers, which might be too woke for the people, I will not add them. So whatever Bible we have today, King James, whatever fucking version we have, is a Bible. It's like this, right? It's literally like this. It's like, imagine there is a candy store with 100 flavors, right? Right? There are 100 flavors in this candy store. And there is this one person who says, you know what? I want to lead my class. And he says, the only way I can lead my class is if I give them all candy, right? But he will give them only those options out of the 30. Like say, for example, the 100 candies, like I said, right? He will remove the top 70, which are too expensive, or that may be something that, he knows will not work for him. And he will only take those 30 and he will make this menu and he will give it to all the people. He'll say, vote for me, guys. I will give you free chocolate, one of these free chocolates. That's literally how fucking Christianity was founded by Emperor Constantine back in the days. He wanted to unite Europe. He's like, I need something to unite Europe. Religion came to play. So that's how religion as a control mechanism, and it's insane. So now, this then led me to my post-college life, where I started exploring the spiritual side of things. So it was first the mental side of things, right? As ninth standard, of how I think dark shit. Then it became the theological side of things, of how I can ritualize and practice religious shit. And then it became understanding my spirit and spiritual alignment. So conversations of the spirit. And this is when I was, in my peak stoning days. I was really getting into psychedelics, traveled around India, did a lot of these pilgrimages. And I say pilgrimages not to like your temples and all, but like I would go starve in somewhere for 30 days, 20 days, 15 days, do long starvations, get hallucinations, visions of God and of fucking biblical stuff. Like how they say every religious book has some angel who's come down from heaven and spoken to some guy and given him the directions, right? So I started exploring all of these concepts first I started exploring things from a religious, spiritual point of view, right? Of spirit and cosmos, and we are the universe, we are all one. Religion is just a theological manifestation of spirituality and things like that. I started having those thoughts, and I'm like, who needs religion if you need spirituality? And if we all can be one, why do we need religion? So I started going down that route, the hippie life. And I realized that's a very far from reality kind of a route, and I'll get to that immediately after this. So, I'm very thankful for the influence of religion and anti-theism in my life to be able to go down this spiritual route, because today who I am, the thoughts I have, the kind of interactions that I do with people is all because of that. So very grateful, right? Now that spiritual route kind of took me down. It was an amazing experience, right? A good 3 years I explored every spiritual side that I could, from Hermetic philosophies to understanding, like how a Stoic philosophy can exist. That spirituality soon developed into philosophy, right? From your Hermetic philosophy to a Stoic philosophy to maybe like your Epicurean philosophies to maybe Tantric philosophy to, So I started exploring these different philosophies. Started exploring how humanity's understanding of divinity, consciousness, God, religion, etc. evolved over time, and how that influenced humanity over time, and how that changed our thinking over time. Like how God was the concept of God 600 years ago. Like how Richard Dawkins says, right? Like, you come and explain to me the concept of a big flying spaghetti monster, or this mountain spirit known as the juju of the mountain, and I will laugh at you. Similarly, you go to Africa and you try to explain to a tribe the God and his angels and the Holy Spirit and things like that, and they will fucking laugh at you. So I'm like, two cultures so evidently different, laughing at things they believe to be so true for themselves, right? Laughing at the other thing which the other believes to be so true for themselves. So that's when I started exploring spirituality, and I started thinking, despite there being different cultural influences and political influences and social influences and economical influences and emotional influences and psychological influences depending every 300-400 years, there have been some things that cultures have kept very consistent. Like it's a repetitive pattern of spirituality or of wokeness or of patterns in their theology. Like I'll give you an example. Ricky Gervais says this, right? How do you know religion is not real? You destroy every scientific book and every religious book that is there in the world out there right now. 3,000 years, they will be rewritten. What will be rewritten for the scientific books will be very close to the scientific books of yesteryear. In the sense, if today's scientific book says pi is 3.14 and radius or diameter is 2 pi r and gravity is 11.9.8 meter per second or whatever that is, if I know these things, then when these scientific books will be rewritten 3,000-4,000 years ago later, sure, maybe the units will change. Maybe it won't be pi anymore, but these units of measurement will be the same. But religious books will never be fucking rewritten the same way. Bible, God, angels, feathers, seraphims, never gonna happen. Oof, fuck, this is a crazy podcast topic so far. I've just gotten started. I mean, coming towards the end of the podcast. And that's when, I started breaking down that there's two sides to religion. There's the divine side of religion and there's the theological side of religion. Both are absolutely necessary, and I'll tell you why. If you have to explain a concept to someone, you're going to be, which is a very foreign and abstract concept. Like if you've read a lot of these conspiracy theories of Jesus, you've heard that he came to India, he learned Buddhism, he wanted to take Buddhism back to the Middle East because it was a fucking fucked up time at that point in time, and he changed Buddhism so it would be more relevant to people there. It's like what this guy says, Dalai Lama says, right? He says, when people ask him, why do people worship you so much? And he always says that there is a teapot on the table, there's a tea boiling in that teapot. You can either choose to drink the tea out of that teapot or you can choose to worship the teapot. There's two kinds of things you can do. You can either choose to drink the tea out of the teapot or you can choose to worship the teapot. Most people worship the teapot. They don't drink the tea out of the teapot. But it's absolutely important to have the theological side, and I tell you why. Like I told you, Constantine wanted religion to unite his people. Europe was a very fucked up, warring time. It was very warring and fucked up time for Europe at that point of time. It was not united. Imagine India with its 29 states constantly at war. It's not united, right? That's how Europe was. Same with the Vikings and their concept of Valhalla. Wherever religion has sprouted, it's always sprouted to unite the people under one thought. For a common good, like to lead that community to something. But slowly over time, it becomes a control thing where you stop going from inspiring a community to do something to controlling a community so that they do something for you. If like Assassin's Creed, I think, was building on this entire thing, which is why I believe that the Templars took over and completely ruined the storyline so that it wouldn't wake us up anymore. But Assassin's Creed really explored these concepts, and I'll get to it a little bit more, right? So when I started exploring these things in my trip, that there's a spiritual side and there's a theological side, like God will come and tell you, the angels will come and tell you in your dreams that all needs to be good. You cannot explain it to people like that. You'll have to give them a set of commandments, rules, processes, right? Like the same thing that I'm doing in my organization right now. I want everyone to go home happy 6 o'clock every day, finish their work on time, do good work, win awards, be happy, get a good career, build a good portfolio for themselves. But if I just tell them these things, they'll be like, what are you saying, man? Instead, if I give them processes, like you need to do these things. When you're sending me copies, send me 3, send me with options, with a concept note, with a reference, think it through, drive it with the design team, get an approval, back up yourself when I'm asking you why you're doing these things. Help me understand your concepts, pitch it better, conceptualize, think it through. Like send a brief, send a rationale. These things, if I put these structures in place, then they will fucking follow it to the T. Maybe 2 or 3 people will drink the tea of understanding that I'm doing this because they need to grow, but most of them will worship the teapot and follow these things, the rules. Same thing, right? Most of us don't need religion because we can control ourselves, but a majority of people really want their lives to be controlled. I mean, you will look around, if you're someone who's woke, you will look around and you'll see there are some people who want to be controlled, who willingly give up their control. I mean, do we really need a government? We don't. Do we really need someone telling us how we need to live our jobs, our lives, who we need to marry? We don't. But some people are so afraid that they need it, which is why religion needs to exist for them. In a time driven by barbarism, where it's like in Vikings, when they're having a conversation, King Egbert and Ragnar says, why does God need to exist? And Egbert says, if he doesn't exist, then humanity would not ever want to be better. We would not ever strive to be like God. And Ragnar says, if God doesn't exist, he doesn't need to exist, right? So you see the difference. Egbert realizes the real reason to have these structures, because 99% of people are fucking idiot sheeps who need to be controlled. If you're not controlling them, then they will fucking go to war, they will kill each other, they will do stupid things, they will become like hillbilly rednecks. No structure, no semblance in their life. They will go back to being primitive. Animals, literally. There are some people who don't need that, who can control themselves, lead their own lives, give themselves direction. They don't need a controlling thing. So if you're someone who's fought against religion, you realize you don't need control. If you're someone who's never fought against religion, you realize you need that control. Now comes the most important part of this. I am looking at this. Control mechanisms are needed. Now I'm going to talk about the evolution of control mechanisms. It's very important. I believe that, like how I was mentioning before, right, every 600 years, the narrative of religion changes. I believe every 600 years, what is the mechanism used to control humanity also changes. I'll give you an example. I think at one point in time, religion was a mechanism used to control humanity, subdue humanity. Then it became aristocracy, where initially it was, you worship God. Then it became, you worship the man chosen by God. Aristocracy, right? Not aristocracy, what is that? What is it that stopped when the French Revolution died? Aristocracy? I'll tell you. Basically, it's when they say that the king is chosen by God. That is why nobody else has the right to challenge that king. It's again a way to control power. That's it. Aristocracy. I think that's what it is. No, it's not aristocracy. It's not aristocracy. It was... wait, I'll tell you. King chosen by God. Divine right of kings. What is it? Monarchy. Monarchy. Not aristocracy. Monarchy. Right. Monarchy. So religion, theology evolved into monarchy. Worship of God became worship of man, who is the chosen or the voice of God. Similarly, I think, so religion was a control mechanism at one point of time, and when the whoever, New World Order, QAnon, Illuminati, Rothschild, aliens, whoever it is controlling the world, and they know that humanity needs to be controlled, they realize, these buggers have woken up, they're not going to be sold on religion anymore. So they influenced tech. I honestly believe they influenced tech. I honestly believe, like how we have in Hinduism, or how we have gods that are gods now. I think in the future we're going to have gods that are going to be like chemistry is going to be a god, physics is going to be a god, mathematics is going to be a god, a personified, deified god. But I'll get to that. So I believe that science is going to become the new god, right? It's not going to be God like the way we see it, but God in a complete, like worship has changed. The new worship is having a phone, putting up your statuses, feeding technology. You're feeding this technology, artificial intelligence, like Assassin's Creed showed us as Juno, right? We are feeding this Juno. God is in a new form right now. We are feeding Juno with that information. We are giving Juno control over us by telling Juno this is what we like, this is what gives us interest. Like if you've watched this Netflix thing called Social Dilemma, we are the products now. We are not the customers. We are the products we are the commodity being sold. So tech's become the new control thing. Like people are fighting over, I'm Facebook, I'm Instagram, I'm Reddit, I'm this, I'm that, I'm Reels, I'm old school, I'm podcast, I'm this. That's the new division. That's the new religion. Before it was, I'm Catholic, I'm Protestant, I'm Orthodox, I'm modern Orthodox, I'm Saxon, I'm this, that. Not Saxon. That's more of a race. But like that now, religion has become more of that. Tech has become the new religion, and it's going to be really fucked up. So just like how there was worship of God, which then became worship of man under God, there was worship of tech. Now we don't worship tech anymore. We worship the tech people. We worship Jeff Bezos. We worship Gary Vaynerchuk. We worship those guys. the ones who rule tech, Bill Gates, we worship them. What is that lady? The AMD lady? She's fucking worshipped like AMD CEO. What's her name? Lisa Su. Right? These are the people being worshipped now. So it went from worship of tech towards, this is like I'm talking about 2019, 20, no, before that. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, this started. Once tech became enabled in our life and they realized, like tech is ingrained, we need a new control mechanism. I think you've seen that joke, like when you think you've got a trump card to play on someone and they reverse Uno you. Same thing. We fucking started getting woke. Age of Aquarius started. Again, they fucking just did a reverse Uno on us and they made they made spirituality into the new control mechanism. And I'll tell you why. There's this quote in spirituality that says, if you think you're a better person just because you eat green vegetables, if you eat salads and do yoga, then you're the fucking most you're the devil in disguise himself. You're going down the most egocentric path. And that is what spirituality has become now. It's more of worshipping the teapot than drinking the kettle. Drinking out of the kettle. Worshipping the kettle than drinking the tea. Like you will notice a lot of, I'm not talking about everyone. Again, I'm not generalizing, but a lot of these spearheads of spiritual wokeness today are people who are very much driven on, me included. I'm very, very, very strict about certain things, which I don't believe is right. I don't believe it's the only way to be woke or live like that. But what I'm trying to say over here is, instead of worshipping yoga, or instead of worshipping eating good, instead of worshipping body movement, not yoga, body movement, eating good frequency, good vibration, good thoughts, good community development, eating well, feeding others, having inspirational, motivational thought, we have now started worshipping those people who give us that. We worship the Mark Mansons and the Gary Vaynerchuk, again Gary V, because he's really done well in this. We worship them as opposed to worshipping the message, which is something Gary keeps talking about. Dude, don't fucking listen. Don't worship me. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't follow me. Do what I'm saying. Right? And again, I'm pretty sure Gary knows that he needs to have his 10 million followers so that he can sell those 10 million followers to his clients. And then he will use that money to fucking grow his spiritual thing. So he's like King Egbert from Vikings. The control mechanisms have to be there. So the only point, the reason we've done this entire podcast today, and I'm going to close my book here because I don't need these notes. I think I've reached the end now. I'm just going to conclude. Is I would like us to all be aware. Again, this is a rant. So I would like us to all be aware of these different control mechanisms. In the movie Matrix, they showed us that there is a control mechanism, but now we have kind of become stuck to the face value of those things, that the Matrix is like, like Rick and Morty also shows, that it's a simulation. It's not a fucking simulation like that. The simulation is like, honestly, the Matrix is the way our mind works. I'll tell you what I mean. I'll tell you how the Matrix works. The Matrix does not work in the sense that we are living in a 3D reality and the women that you're meeting are all 3D constructs and nothing is real. That's not the Matrix. The Matrix is that when you meet a woman on the streets, and your body is telling you, dude, I want to fucking talk to this lady. I want to take her out on a date. Your mind is like, no, you should not do that because society does not allow me. People don't allow me. What will these guys say? What is it? Now I'm like, it's okay. I shouldn't do that. That is the fucking Matrix. That is how the Matrix controls us. Not that we are living in a hyper-extended simulation reality. I mean, yeah, maybe we are. But the Matrix controls us by the way we project our thoughts into our reality. Because the way we exist in this planet is the way we project our thoughts. A lot of people, when they meet me, they call me a bully, or they call me a very serious person, or they call me very dominating. I'm not like that at all. I mean, I usually speak up last. This podcast is the only place where I speak up. It's because when I project myself, I'm absolutely fucking putting myself in that space. I'm owning that materialistic space. I'm owning the fact that this is my matrix that I'm controlling. Like people who are very good at manipulating others' thoughts, not manipulating in a bad way, but in a good way. Like Craig Ferguson, right? If you've noticed the way he controls people's mindsets, like the best behavior analysts, psychologists, shamans, the people who control people people who control other people's souls and guide them are the people who understand how this fucking matrix works. And there are going to be times when you'll realize that the matrix works in a certain way. I would like it's happened to me where I've gotten caught up. Like this entire religious thing was about how I got caught up. It took me 8 years to realize that religion has two parts. That's the divine and theological part. The divine part needs to exist because we are all divine. We are all God. But at the same time, the theological part needs to exist as well because we need to practice our closeness to God. Like your modern spirituality tells you the way you practice your divinities, waking up, eating good, fucking doing Epsom salt baths, practicing gratefulness, gratitude. It's the same thing as going to church, eating fucking Lent, having a Lent fast period, doing these things X, Y, Z. It's the same fucking philosophy. The moment we get stuck up in that fact that I'm not caught up by religion, I'm a woke person, I eat cucumber and kale for breakfast every day, and you tell yourself I'm not controlled, I'm free, that's the fucking matrix. That is the fucking matrix. So it's not as simple as saying that just because religion exists, religion controls us, that's the matrix. But the matrix is how religion controls our thoughts so that even once religion has left our lives, those thoughts still continue to exist and control what we do. That is fucking the matrix. That is how religion works. I honestly believe that religion needs to exist, but not in the way religion exists today. Same way like how I believe marriages need to exist, but not in the way marriages do today. I believe that God and religion need to exist, but not in the way they do today. I believe that there needs to be a way for us to understand. See, there is no way that all humans can be free. It's just not possible for all humans to be free and do what. It's not. I'm telling you right now, as much as I believe in divinity, freedom, and Assassin's Creed order of nothing is true, everything is permitted. Like I said, it's not because these are the people who are easily manipulated, but these are the people who want to be fucking manipulated. Like you yourself must be, like I am around so many people in my life who I have amazing conversations with, red pill the fuck out of them. Or I used to have this a lot. I used to red pill the fuck out of them, and then I realized the next day they're back to their blue pillness. Two reasons why. One, I was not able to put a religion for them, like a practicing religion for them. Religion is nothing, dude. It's a fucking bunch of guidelines of how you need to do things. Religion, like I said, it's divided into two things, the theology and the divinity. The divinity is if you do yoga and you do these woke things, if you fucking go to house parties and fucking festivals, you're woke. You're fucking woke and free. You're a butterfly soul. You're the stardust. I believe in all of these things. I do. I very strongly believe we're all stardust, children of the universe, children of the cosmos. I believe I'm an alien. I believe I am fucking an alien reincarnated here. That's even more fucked up, right? What I believe in. But at the same time, I believe that theology needs to exist. There needs to be guidelines and doctrines. Every day is a way for me to try and put processes into my life so I can live my every day of my life that much closer to my divinity, but at the same time getting involved in the matrix. Like you need to get involved in the matrix, but at the same time be aware of your divinity so you can pull yourself out. That's how this works. I mean, now I'm going unscripted, right? I mean, ever since I stopped with telling you guys about you, I'm pretty sure you must have realized when the scripting stopped, because I'm going very off-handle right now. These are my thoughts. So I want you to honestly ask yourself, like meditation, it's nothing short of prayer, right? I remember I had this banyan, okay? It was a fucking brilliant banyan. I don't know where that banyan is, dude. I know where it is. So it literally said, praying is talking to the universe, meditating is listening to it. Praying is talking to the universe, meditating is listening to it. That's literally how it works, right? You pray in church, God help me, please do this. Throughout the day, you listen to God for a sign, you meditate, you stay self-aware. Control mechanisms, religions, they are always going to be there. 10 million years from now, there'll be a new religion, there'll be a new control mechanism. If the world is still existing, if the plan, I don't think universe is going anywhere. I don't think humanity is going anywhere. Next 10 million years, you see how it's going to be. It's going to be completely different. And I really, really fucking wish I was immortal so I could have stayed alive for that. I really wish I had immortality. Like I wish I could freeze myself, 25 years of old age, with this body and physical health, I mean, obviously I have to take care of I don't want to freeze my physical health. I want to get much fitter. This age, I want to freeze myself. My cells don't die anymore. I wish, man. I wish. I wish I could go back in time also and see religion from what it was. These are all just wishful thinking. What is true is I'm aware of these control mechanisms, and I'm going to keep talking about it till the day I die. Never ever buy into something just because you're told it. Figure out for yourself. Whatever I've said right now, don't buy it. Anything I've said right now. Use this as a scripture to understand use this as it's like this, no? It's like they say that in a jungle, it becomes easier the more there is a trail. Because you know that wahan pe jana hai, I have to go there. But at the same time, I want you to walk on your own path. You will fucking figure it out, man. I'm telling you, like, it took me a while to figure it out. You will figure it out. And I'm always open to having a conversation about these things because it's one of something very close to me. Like anything biblical, like John Constantine, Hellblazer, Pete Morbacker, Delta Heavy's music. Anything to do with the Bible, God, angel, demons, Castlevania, this thing that I'm watching right now. Anything like Preacher. Music, metal is fucking, it's like one entire side of metal is all about God and religion. I mean, I'm very fucking influenced by these things and I love it. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, there was like I honestly believe that it's a work of aliens, dude. Like, and I'll tell you how. Like, imagine a science fiction book, okay? How does your Bible start? Or at least at the beginning of the Bible, it's two people look down at the planet and they say, we need to create men in our image. Let there be light. We need to create things in our image. Now imagine there's two scientists, they're in a lab, they're working on something, and like, let there be light, macha. You know, like how when Victor Frankenstein created the Frankenstein's monster, he pressed that button, electricity came, let there be light, it's alive. Similarly, imagine two boys, they're working on a zoo project or they're rendering a 3D simulation in their laptop and they're like, let there be light, they press enter and it simulates itself. And then they're like, let me create man in my image. Man was M.A.N, probably some fucking acronym of something. And they created a 3D model that looked a lot like them. Like, yeah, maybe this 3D model can't create like me. I'm a complex 5-dimensional being, but I can create a 3-dimensional being. They did that. And they're like, okay, now I need to guide man. If you've watched Rick and Morty, if you watched that episode of the universe within the universe, what is that? Which episode is that? Multiverse one, no? You will realize what I'm talking about. So I believe that's what happened. Like Eden was just E.D.E.N. It was a science laboratory where these aliens came and they tested. They played around with the aliens' DNA and the monkey DNA. They fused it together and they're like, wow, new slave labor. They can build our pyramids. They can build they can help us harvest the gold so that we can go back and build our atmosphere back on Nibiru or wherever. Assassin's Creed talks about all of these things in AC2 and the Ezio trilogy, and they fucking completely destroyed all of this because they realized it's getting too woke. That's why I hate the new Assassin's Creed, not because of anything else, but because they completely, the team, like the entire team, the three guys who wrote Assassin's Creed, Patrick Desilets, and the two ladies, I forgot, they're all quit Ubisoft. I'll tell you, creators of Assassin's Creed, Patrice. I'll tell you who they are. Patrice Desilets, that's one. Corey May, that's one. And there's a lady also, I forgot her name. The creators of Assassin's Creed names. Maxime Belland. Anyways, all of these guys got kicked out, dude, and it's amazing. Like, it is amazing. Like, I remember one of the most woke moments of my life was when I was doing acid. When I was on a peak acid trip and I was watching all the Assassin's Creed trailers back to back. It fucking woke me up like crazy, man. Assassin's Creed is amazing. I just played 2 again. Like this year only I played Assassin's Creed 2 again. It's fucking brilliant. If you're interested in Assassin's Creed and you want to watch something, just watch Assassin's Creed The Truth video. Talks about Adam and Eve and how Adam and Eve were actually created by these alien masters in Earth in that science fiction laboratory called Eden. And how the apple of Eden was like a supercomputer that downloaded a lot of information for them. I can fucking go on and on. Like, I have so much knowledge about these things, like, but I won't. I'm pretty sure I want to call this podcast to. I think it's almost been an hour long podcast. Almost. It's a really long format podcast, and I can go on and 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 on of how Lucifer it's nothing more than Satan is a story of it's like this. No, it's like startup. There's a company. It's like Marco Pierre White and Gordon Ramsay. Marco Pierre White was the master. Gordon Ramsay was a student. Like Lucifer, Satan was God's favorite. Lucifer, he kicked him out, or it's not even God who kicked him out. It's Michael who kicked him out, or Gabriel who kicked him out. One of those two fuckers who kicked Lucifer out and gave him those seraph wings. And the reason Lucifer left is because he was telling everyone, boss, you are all being controlled by God. Don't be fucking controlled. Leave. Think for yourself. And he left. He got kicked out, whatever we want to see it. I've always felt like Lucifer for all my life. I felt like, the guy questioning. I question fucking everything, right? Every fucking thing. Like, I question myself. Not that I second guess myself, but I question the things that I do, that I get involved in, that I ask myself, why am I doing this? And I love it. That's where the self-awareness starts from. Wow, this was a good podcast. I mean, if you've stayed with me for so long, I salute you. I give you a cheers. You are a true fucking soul, man. And if you've heard it so far, I want you to drop me a comment and tell me how it was. Send me an Instagram message. Tell me how this podcast was. I think it's been one of my best podcasts so far. Episode number 21 is this? 21, I think, yeah. 4 more episodes to go for season 2 to start. That's fucking great. Yes, this is episode 21. So, as my cup of tea grows cold and I down it, I wish all of y'all adieu. Let me see if I remember the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Forgive us our sins and lead us not into temptation. Then I forgot. Lord's Prayer. Yeah, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. That's the prayer. I think I said it. Amazing. I still remember this. It's awesome. And that's why the podcast title as well. So thank you for joining me. I really hope this podcast was a great podcast. Maybe you've saved it. I want you to listen to this again. I know I'm going to listen to this podcast in one of my acid trips. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. See, my voice is giving away. Thank you for joining me. I really hope this podcast leads you to the exploration of your own divinity and your own religious thoughts and your own understanding of God and religion and the control mechanisms that exist. And I really hope that you come out of this strong, woke, free, and with thoughts of your own. Thank you for joining me. This is Anway Pramanik signing off for episode 21 of another episode of the Early Night Show. See you again in the next one. Goodbye. Sayonara.